The history of this company was that they gobbled up a lot of small companies, right? And they didn't really provide any governance. They just wanted the profits. They said, give us the money. As long as the profits are coming, we're not going to ask any questions. And that's not uncommon. I think you buy successful businesses. Why? Because they're successful and you have to continue. But unfortunately, as you noted, that runs some risk sometimes if you're not careful with regards to what jurisdictions you do work or how quickly you move into certain markets that perhaps you don't really have the appropriate experience or knowledge to work in a lawful fashion. So essentially, because of this settlement agreement, a lot of these group companies that have never done this before are going through this kind of corporate sophistication, this change whereby they now have to do it. And so that's been my job. I tend to go in and I essentially develop and grow programs and tailor where oftentimes there wasn't one before.
If you take risk lightly, it can become a time bomb in the midterm, right? If you don't take the approach to analyze your risk, you're not really completing your circle. You're leaving an area there that could have a potential to become an issue, a serious issue in the future. At the end of the day, you say, okay, I completed my task, but I didn't lock the door, I didn't turn the lights off. It's just a part of your process that you need to consider in order to say, have I done all my checks, have I crossed all my T's and my I's, all the letter in the process of it. So risk management is, in my opinion, is a must, because in my experience, I have been involved in activities within the industry as a consultant where risk management has not been taken into consideration, and at the end of the day, you end up paying for it, right? So it's part of it, whether you put it as a priority or not, but it has to be considered. It has to be part of the formula for your business.
To me, in my head, I kind of think of it as maybe two different sides of the same coin. There's risk and opportunity, let's say, and of course there is risk that you'll miss an opportunity because the markets change so quickly, industries change so quickly because of the way that we're able to handle data and information. Technology advances. The companies run a real risk of getting behind the eight ball if they're not proactive with addressing these risks.
Quite frankly, what I do is when you talk to executives, they're very much numbers people and liability people, risk people, so that's how you need to talk. You need to talk in that language, and oftentimes, my legal background, I'm an attorney by training, I don't know if I mentioned that, and I was a litigator initially, and actually did some insurance law, so I understand the arguments that insurance companies make whenever they want to deny a claim, and oftentimes some of the stronger arguments are where the legal obligations lie, right? So if, let's say, you don't have a compliance program to follow up on issues as they arise, perhaps you'll be found liable for basically turning a willful blind eye, they might find, right? And if you do that, then the insurance doesn't cover that, right? You have to be prudent with regards to insurance, and so you run that risk of falling into that kind of gap of not being covered for your loss. So, and you start quantifying those into real numbers and real risks, even to the individual, and these days, especially under these sort of anti-corruption laws, they're targeting their enforcement on individual actors and enforcing, prison penalties, and people are going to jail. So that really, you don't want to lose credibility, right? And you don't really introduce it as your first argument, like you're going to go to jail, because that's not going to win over anyone. But it's there.
Companies need to not only worry about being compliant with existing regulations, but they need to be looking forward, looking down the road. How are things changing, and are they prepared to meet that change? I read an article the other day that said that Amazon, of course, is so phenomenally successful. They're the largest company in the world right now, and in the same newspaper you can read the story about Sears and Roebuck going out of business. And just 50 years ago, let's say, or less than that, Sears and Roebuck was the largest retail organization in the world. and now they're on the brink of going away. And why is that? And they probably did not anticipate the changes in the marketplace. And so they didn't see it as a risk. They saw risk as, how do we maintain the traffic going through our stores, bringing on different products. They really didn't anticipate the oncoming of digital retail, and as a result, have really suffered for it.